Cake slices are so popular for school events, brunches, bake sales, your cake business, or a wedding tasting. And this tutorial will show you how to make, package, store, transport, and serve them all in a way that's easy and looks absolutely gorgeous. You can use this technique with both round and rectangular cakes, and it's a great way to prepare desserts in advance without needing to bake everything at the last minute. Let's start with, I think, the easiest kind of cake to use, a sheet cake. You can bake however many layers you'd like. Of course, the more layers you bake, the taller your cake slices will be. If your cake's quite large, here's a trick for getting it out of the pan without cracking or breaking it. Place a wire rack directly on top of the cake pan, and then flip the whole thing upside down and lift the pan away. That gives you a sheet cake perfectly centered on your wire rack, all in one piece. I'm making this one a cookies and cream cake, so I'm mixing my 4-minute buttercream with some crushed Oreo cookies. I like to assemble these cakes on a cutting board, so place your first cake layer on the board and cover it with filling, spreading it level with an offset spatula or the back of a spoon. Then place your next cake layer on top. I like to add buttercream on top too, for the best cake to frosting ratio. Before we move on to slicing, pop it into the fridge for at least 30 minutes or the freezer for about 15. Which makes the cake and buttercream firm up and gives you much neater slices when you cut them. If you want to make your cakes look even taller without baking more layers, try this. Divide each cake in half horizontally before or after you assemble the cake. I'm using a wire cake leveler, but you could use a serrated knife if you don't have one. Adjust the wire so it's halfway up each cake layer and gently pull it back and forth with little sawing motions until you've sliced through. And then you can add extra layers of filling. Now you've got a 4-layer cake with 3 layers of filling to add height and also flavor. While the cake's chilling, take a moment to clean up your workspace. You don't want any stray crumbs or smears of buttercream getting into your packaging later. This is also the time to prep your labels if you haven't already. Having the flavor name on each slice makes everything look more professional and is so helpful for customers or guests, especially if there are any allergies. Once your cake is fully chilled, it's time to slice. You'll need your stickers or labels or sellotape, a serrated knife, and a ruler. I'm making 4 slices along the long side of this cake. Use a ruler to mark out where you'll cut, scoring the top lightly with your knife. Then slice through with a bread knife, wiping it clean after each slice. For the width of each slice, I'm using the width of my ruler. This makes it super easy to divide the cake evenly. Don't worry if the slices fall over as you cut them, they'll be easy to handle since they're cold. They already look like bakery slices and we haven't even started packaging them yet. Now it's time to wrap them. For rectangular cake slices, cellophane works best. If you don't have any, cling film is fine. Place a slice of cake onto a sheet of cellophane and cut it wide enough so that you can fold each side in just past the center of the cake. Don't tape it yet. Keeping a finger pressed down on this part, fold each end like you're wrapping a present. Crease 2 triangle shapes on each end and then fold them up and over the top of the cake slice. Use one of your stickers or flavor labels to seal the wrap, just like you would for a gift. Make sure all your labels are going in the same direction. It makes everything look clean and consistent when the slices are displayed together. Here the frosted top of the cake slice is on the right, and I'm placing the flavor label so that the text flows in that direction. For each slice, check that your cellophane is wide and tall enough. You want the first 2 sides to overlap each other across the middle of the cake, and also for the top and bottom, after making those triangles, you need them to fold up over onto this front surface of the cake, so you can seal everything with your label. Consistency is key, especially if you're selling or presenting multiple slices together. Fold the acetate or cling film the same way each time and place the labels in a matching position. You would use cling film the same way as this cellophane, but I will say it doesn't look quite as neat because the corners won't be as sharp and the packaging won't be as shiny because of all of the wrinkles and creases in cling film. If you're making cake slices with different flavors, the size of the cellophane will change if the cakes are different sizes. For example, these chocolate peanut butter slices aren't quite as tall as the Oreo ones because they're made with 2 layers of cake instead of 4. Once you've wrapped up your slices, you'll need to store them, unless you're serving them right away. I'll share my tips for storing in a moment, but first, what if you're working with a round cake? You've got 2 options. First, you can cut the round cake into traditional wedge slices. These are big and they look gorgeous when they're displayed at cafes or events. Just like with sheet cakes, these will be the neatest if you package them when they're cold, so cover a tray of them with cling film or saran wrap and put them into the freezer for 15 minutes. Choose one side of the wedge to be the bottom of the slice and let the edges of the cling film meet there. Since that's the base, case, it won't matter that the plastic overlaps and looks less tidy there. I tried wrapping these in cellophane, but it doesn't sit flat on the curved edge, and it's difficult to wrap tightly without the sharp angles that the rectangular slices have. So I recommend using cling film or saran wrap instead. These big wedge slices are ideal for bake sales, dessert tables, or for portioning cakes out in advance without them drying out. If you store these properly, which I'll cover in a minute, the cling film will keep the cake moist, and when you unwrap it and serve it, it will still taste fresh and delicious. But if you prefer rectangular slices like this one, you can make these even if you start off with a round cake. Here's how. Cut an inch or two in from the edge of the cake, straight across, around all 4 sides, to leave a square of cake in the middle. These curved edge pieces won't work for neat rectangular slices, but you can use them as samples or make cake pops with them instead. Make sure you don't have any of the frosting from the cake left on the corners, so trim a little bit more if necessary. Now divide the center square of cake into rectangular slices. And just like for the other cakes, this is best to do when the cake is cold, so that the cake and buttercream are firm. Now you can wrap these the same way as the cut-up sheet cake to make neat rectangular cake slices. And yes, you can absolutely make these in advance. In fact, I recommend it. When I made these for Teacher Appreciation Week at both of my kids' schools, there's no way I could have baked, assembled, sliced, and wrapped all of them in one day. So I did it in stages across a few weeks and stored them in the freezer. They'll be fine for a month as long as they're properly wrapped and stored in an airtight container. That could be a sealed box or a big zip-top bag. Or you can double wrap a tray with cling film. If the wrapping isn't airtight, the cake will dry out, and worse, it can absorb other flavors from the freezer. Move the slices to the fridge the day before you need them so that they thaw, and they'll be ready to go. And now it's time to transport and serve these. Always transport your slices cold, straight from the fridge. The buttercream will be firm, which means it's less likely to get damaged on the way to your event or drop-off. Also, when the buttercream is cold, you'll be able to move them from your storage container to your display or cake stand without the frosting smudging. And here's a final little detail that really matters. Let your slices come to room temperature before serving. Buttercream tastes best when it's soft and creamy, not cold and firm from the fridge. And also, cake tastes dry when it's cold. I recommend letting the slices sit out for about an hour before serving. It makes the texture better, the flavor more pronounced, and honestly, even if they've been frozen, they'll taste like they're freshly made. So, that's how to make and package cake slices, whether you're selling them, gifting them, or serving them at your next event. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more baking and cake decorating tutorials. I've got lots more tips coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you over on my cake school on BritishGirlBakes.com.